In this video, we'll show you how to perform a coolant flush on your Dodge Ram 1500. You can find the right coolant on CarParts.com via the link in the description. For safety reasons, we strongly suggest watching our video on how to jack your Dodge Ram 1500 safely. When completely bleeding your cooling system, we advise you to do it when the engine is cold. We advise you to completely empty the coolant from the reservoir. Detach the reservoir hose. Using a ratchet, an extender, and a 10mm socket, unscrew the retaining bolt. Then remove the reservoir. This will make it easier to empty. Also, clean it with demineralized water so as to clean the impurities remaining in the reservoir. Put the coolant reservoir back in place. Then screw the bolt back on. Reconnect the hose. To facilitate the flow of liquid while draining, open the radiator cap. Get a fluid collection container to collect the coolant that will flow out. On this vehicle, the radiator is equipped with a bleed screw, which you have access from the underside of the vehicle on the driver's side. You can then unscrew the bleed screw using a ratchet and a 10mm Allen socket to let the coolant flow. Connect a plastic tube to the bleed port to collect the coolant directly into the collection container. You can use special compressed air tools to effectively bleed your circuit. Once drained, close the bleed screw. Before adding coolant, we advise you to thoroughly clean the coolant system by filling the coolant reservoir and the radiator with demineralized water. Squeeze the coolant hose several times to help expel air bubbles from the cooling system. Once the system has been filled, close the cap of the reservoir and that of the radiator. Start your vehicle. Make sure the air conditioning is turned off. Then, turn the ventilation and heating to maximum in order to circulate the liquid in the heater core. You can maintain the acceleration around 2,000 RPM to accelerate the engine warm-up. Once the engine is at operating temperature, with the engine temperature rising, the thermostat should open. Check that the hose coming out of the thermostat is hot. This means that the thermostat is in the open position and the liquid is circulating through the engine. Also, check that the heater core supply hoses are hot and that hot air is coming out of the ventilation. This means that the liquid is circulating freely through the heating circuit. You can then turn off the ignition and wait about 1 hour for the motor temperature to drop back down. Once the engine is cold, open the radiator cap and repeat the bleeding operation. Once the demineralized water has been bled, close the bleed screw. For great content, our best price, and fast shipping, download the CarParts.com app now. Don't forget to empty the water from the coolant reservoir. You can order the coolant used in the video on CarParts.com via the link in the description. For this vehicle, we advise you to follow the manufacturer and product recommendations to adapt coolant dilution to the specifications of your vehicle where necessary. You can now fill the coolant reservoir to the minimum level. Close the cap. Also, fill the radiator to the maximum level. Squeeze the coolant hoses several times to help expel air bubbles from the cooling system. Close the cap. Start your vehicle. Make sure the air conditioning is turned off. Then, turn the ventilation and heating to maximum in order to circulate the liquid in the heater core. Once the engine is at operating temperature, check the opening of the thermostat by making sure that the hose coming out of the thermostat is hot. This means that the thermostat is in the open position and the liquid is circulating through the engine. Also, check that the heater core supply hoses are hot and that hot air is coming out of the ventilation. This means that the liquid is circulating freely through the heating circuit and air bubbles are not obstructing the circulation. You can then unscrew the upper bleed screw using a ratchet and a 10mm Allen socket to release the air trapped in the circuit. Close the bleed screw. Turn off your vehicle's ignition. Readjust the coolant reservoir to the maximum level. Then gently lower your vehicle to the ground. We advise you to check the general condition of the cooling hoses to make sure there are no cracks or leaks. During the first few miles of driving, pay special attention to your coolant level, which will have to be readjusted if necessary. Also, check regularly for leaks on the ground. Operation complete.